Some people might say, you know, yes, we understand the Conservatives are a problem, and they are. I mean, let's just look at just a few things. How could they cut? They had a $13 billion surplus they announced last September. They always say they had the surplus. Actually, it's our money. And what did they do with it? They said, well, we're going to put it all against the debt. That's their ideological fixation. We said it should have been more balanced. We could have dealt with some of the other deficits we have in our society, like student debt, for example, on the shoulders of our young. We could have done something about waiting times. We could have had more home care and more long-term care for the seniors who built this country, who shouldn't have to be waiting for their care. We could have had all kinds of money left over to put against the debt. But no, that wasn't good enough for the Conservatives. They said the $13 billion is great, we'll put that against the debt. Now, let's go and cut some more. And they cut millions of dollars from adult literacy programs. They said it was a waste of time. You know, they'd rather help young kids to learn how to read. They didn't fund any of that. But they said it was a waste of time. And I've been going to those literacy meetings with the adults who have been struggling with literacy, who take those programs. And if we give somebody who can't read and write the ability to do it, we've given them freedom and dignity, and that shouldn't be taken away from them by these conservatives. The Conservatives promised action on wait lists. Remember, that was one of the big five. We've heard absolutely nothing about it since. That's a shocking, broken promise, and we're going to talk about that. They have strengthened the power of some of the biggest multinationals in the world. I'll give you an example. Take Cargill. They want to break up the wheat board and take away from farmers the right to be able to sell their grain instead of having to be held hostage to companies like Cargill, where we're going to stand up for the farmers and make sure that that wheat board is protected. And then when in doubt, Stephen Harper, if he's not sure what to do on a policy, he'll simply follow George Bush. Climate change, Afghanistan, boom. So, we know that the Conservatives are the problem, and we're going to fight them. I always remind people, who was it that defeated Conservative members of Parliament in the last election? It was the New Democratic Party that defeated Conservative members of Parliament. Now, some people say, well, okay, the Conservatives are the problem, but maybe the Liberals are the answer. Well, let's just think about that for a second. I actually appreciated Linda's addition to the list of transgressions of Mr. Zion. I mean, the green scarf is very nice. I don't want to begrudge that fashion statement, but I will take a look at some of the record. He sat in the cabinet and therefore voted for budget after budget that reduced the funding to health, education, social services, and housing that left us with this prosperity gap. No wonder he only has a paragraph on social justice in his program when he ran for leader. He doesn't know anything about it. And this was the government that signed our name to the Kyoto Protocol and then allowed our emissions to go up by 35%. I don't know how you can do any green flag waving with that kind of record. Well, we intend to bring Mr. Dion to account, because in 2 to 3 weeks' time there will be votes in this special committee we've set up. And we're going to put mandatory auto emissions down for a vote. We'll see if his hand goes up. The last time we put it before the House, he wouldn't support it. We're going to put limits on the big polluters on the table. Last time he said he wouldn't go for that. We'll see what he does this time. The NDP is going to make these parties accountable to Canadians. You know, we've got a record of getting things done. When we have a small group in the House of Commons, we seem to be able to accomplish some good things. But I would like to have a very much larger group in the House of Commons than we have, because there's so much to do. there really is so much to do. We want to take on the unfairness that are facing families on many, many fronts. And to do that, we need more members of Parliament. We intend to take on the big banks directly. We think it's wrong that when somebody who's got a small bank account because they don't have a big income, and they go to a machine to take out their own money, $20, $40, that the bank keeps $1.50 or $2 of that. We think it's wrong. We want to make it illegal.
Good.
That bugs you, does it? Bugs you too. Well, I know we're onto something because there's an ad in the Toronto subway. I don't know if you've seen it here, and it's a whole bunch of bees. And then there's this sign in the middle: tired of being stung by bank charges. And I saw this and I thought, who started this campaign? This is great. It was a bank. Well, you know they spent millions researching that to know that that was something that bugged Canadians. So we actually don't have to do the research. We're just going to do it. And we're also going to push in this budget very hard for there to be no more of these reckless tax cuts, and instead for there to be the kind of investments that will start to create some fairness. Investments in long-term and home care, investments in post-secondary education, training, apprenticeship, so that we can have the employees that can do the jobs that the economy needs right now. And of course also for investment in things like housing and environmental infrastructure. And we're going to insist that ExxonMobil not receive any more of these tax subsidies for their oil sands developments and projects. So folks, it's a large room, but with an even larger crowd, and it's warm, it's enthusiastic. There's a great energy here. This is a fabulous nominating meeting. I almost feel like we should call the election next week. But of course, what we will do on your behalf is make the best judgments we can as a caucus on behalf of all Canadians, in trying to seek some fairness and some affordability for the working families of this country.
You're doing a great job, Jack.
Well, thank you. And in the days and weeks ahead, we'll need your encouragement and support, but mostly what we're going to need is for you to organize this magnificent turnout into a machine of unparalleled and convincing capacity to transform the opinions of those remaining few voters that when they change their mind and decide that Rahim Jaffer is not the representative for this community. He's the one who talks about climate change as junk science. Junk science Jaffer.
I see a billboard.
I can see a billboard shaping up. Who do you want? Junk science Jaffer, or one of the finest environmental leaders, one of the most knowledgeable individuals in our country, someone who speaks with passion and conviction, somebody who shares your values, who's going to work for fairness for you, not for those who are already doing so well, who's going to stand up for the working families of this riding and all across the country. And I think that people are going to make the right decision. In fact, I'm convinced of it, and that's why I'll be back many, many more times.
Yeah.